The show Charmed is no stranger to recasting. Maybe most famously when problems arose on set between on-screen sisters and real-life rivals, Alyssa Milano and Shannon Doherty, the series decided to get rid of the show's oldest sister, Prue, and in her place, write in a brand new younger sister, Paige, played by Rose McGowan. Though that's neither here nor there. But what I think is even more interesting than that is one of the show's weirdest and maybe even worst cases of recasting. That, of course, being the casting of the Charmed One's father, Victor. Victor was the sister's neglectful father who hadn't been involved in the girl's upbringing, having had nothing to do with his daughters in 2 decades. Shortly into season 1, he's officially introduced, showing up as early as the 3rd episode of the series, where the part is played by actor Anthony Denison. This Victor was a suit-wearing businessman that chomped on cigars, and despite being a mortal man, he was still someone that stood his ground with magic users, not showing fear in the face of the unknown. He wasn't present in his daughters' lives, but it was clear that he still cared for them, trying to protect them at any cost, even if that cost was his relationship with his daughters, or his own life. He isn't actively involved in their lives, and it doesn't seem like he wants to be actively involved in their lives. So, of course, at the end of this episode, he leaves to restore the status quo. All of that would be fine and good. Except the next time that we see this character on the show, he's a completely different character.
Have you seen him around?
And I'm not just talking about who's playing him. Different characterization, different last name, different actor.
Last week we have no dad, and now we have 2?
Somehow, without reason, Victor Halliwell became Victor Bennett.
What did you say your name was?
I think you know what my name is.
And this time the character was played by James Reed, who would become the permanent and definitive Victor. This Victor was a lot more pleasant seeming and not nearly as rough around the edges. The last Victor could very well be mistaken as a big bad, maybe even some sort of a dark wizard or warlock. But this one, it was clear that this one was just a guy. There were next to no similarities between the 2 Charmed One's fathers. This Victor was more into jackets than he was into suits, and was also not nearly as knowledgeable on the supernatural as his predecessor, feeling much less confident in taking on threats from the mystical world. Even the small details don't match up at all, like how they addressed their daughters. The first Victor often spoke to his family like strangers, where the second one spoke to them like they were family. Victor 1 would even call Prue by her full name, which, to my knowledge, I don't think Victor 2 had ever done. Simply put, the first Victor was a father, but the second Victor was a dad. But both Victors were so substantially different that it's kind of hard for me to see them as one and the same. I couldn't see the first actor being as caring or as loving as the second, and I couldn't see that second actor being as cold and removed and stoic as the first one. So this wasn't just a case of recasting, this was more of a reimagining. And allegedly this retconning was in part due to the first actor, who was apparently let go because of his chemistry with the leads. More specifically, the particular chemistry he had with the leads. According to that first actor, he was let go because apparently producers didn't feel like he was the fatherly type, feeling like a lot of his scenes with the girls made him come off more like a love interest for Prue or Phoebe.
You're daddy number 1.
First father.
Which is really interesting. Can I ask, what happened?
They said, no, you just look too young. They said, you just look like, there was a scene you did with Shannon where you were holding her and you thought more like you were going to date her rather than to be her father.
Yeah, that's what we said
said
yesterday. Said there was sexual tension.
No, you told me that there was sexual tension, and
EK agrees.
Gives new meaning to the term daddy issues.
And, I don't really agree with that, but I do think that there was a bunch of questionable dialogue that probably didn't do that thought process a service.
I'm staying at the Beaumark. What do you say you and your sisters join me for dinner?
How dare you?
Fiery temper. I like that.
A drink? You are legal, right?
Barely, but no thanks.
How about a hug?
when Holly looked at you and said,
"We're still your little girls. We're just witches."
Like the way she said it was so sexual, and I was like,
It was not.
How
What the
inappropriate
hell,
with
you
your
guys- I don't know,
father.
was it? And I had
Phoebe
a,
comes and visits while you're getting a massage.
yeah, I had a towel around me. It was like,
And she was wearing like a low cut, really tight top.
Yeah.
Also, and then you're in a towel with a robe over it, and you hug her, and I'm like, yeah.
And she said,
Daddy?
Exactly. Hello, Daddy. A man that I haven't seen since I was 1 year old, but now I call him
Yeah.
Daddy.
I should be slapped and persecuted.
The closest we get to any kind of acknowledgement of this change is in the second actor's first episode, where Piper confronts a man who she thinks is her father, and that man being a gray-haired man in a suit. A man who looks a lot more like her first father, rather than the one this episode would debut. I think it's obvious for most fans of the show that the second and much more prominent actor is the character, whereas the first one was, for lack of a better word, maybe a creative mistake. But in my opinion, I actually think both portrayals come with pros and problems. Like, for example, Victor Bennett clearly has chemistry with his dearly departed ex-wife, whereas for me, it would be hard to see Victor Halliwell with her. But alternatively, it's hard to imagine Victor Bennett walking out on his children's lives, whereas to me, it's a lot more believable that someone like Victor Halliwell would. The latter act definitely paved the way for a lot of more wholesome moments between the family. But admittedly, I think the former actor would have led to a lot more interesting developments and story arcs. Weirdness aside, I thought there was really something to that first interpretation, but I can obviously see the merit to the second adaptation as well. James Reed definitely complemented the cast a lot better, and matched the tone of the seasons incredibly well, feeling like he'd been there the whole time despite the character's absence. He seemed to feel a lot more in place, and he had incredible chemistry with his on-screen next of kin.
You guys are very different too. It's completely different.
It is a completely different vibe.
It's a completely different character with him.
and the guy who replaced me, James, I know James. I
Yes.
mean, we weren't like, we weren't like homies or anything like that, but we knew each other. I guess, I'm replacing you. I said, no, I didn't know that. And I said, but have fun, have a good time. I mean, what am I going to do? Kill him so that I can do the role,
Nevertheless, this was a tale of two on a show about the power of three, and if you like this video and you'd maybe want to see more Charmed-related content here on the channel, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying,
Charmed, I'm sure. I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was V Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day? Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.